Hello, my name is Garchompro, and I've been Challenger since Set 2. In this video, I'll be going through all the legends in the game from best to worst in patch 13.14b and discussing how to play each of them as well as when to take their augments. Starting off with the S tier, and what I think is the best legend in the game is going to be Ornn. Now, Ornn is really good due to the fact that none of his augments are bad, meaning you essentially can't low roll, you'll always have a solid augment to take. In addition, a bunch of his augments are going to be really powerful, allowing you to be strong early because items are just really powerful in the early game. Starting off with the 2-1 augments, we have Latent Forge. Latent Forge is fantastic for silver. I definitely say it's above average. The thing is, you are without an augment for 8 turns, but that's not a big deal because it's a silver augment, and being without a silver augment really isn't that much of a detriment. So the fact that you essentially get a gold augment's worth of power once you get to 3-5 is just fantastic. Portable Forge is also an above average augment at 2-1. You just get a lot of power, a lot of direction with it, and Living Forge is also going to be really strong. You're going to be a little below power for Prismatic at 2-1. Once you get to 4-1 though, you're probably slightly above power, and once you're at 6-1, it's one of the best Prismatics in the game, so Living Forge has really good potential to win you the game. Looking at the 3-2s, Small Forge and Medium Forge are fantastic augments. I'd actually say they're Ornn's best augments. They allow you to catch up in eco in a really great way. The problem with taking eco augments often is that you're going to be behind in combat power, but if you take Small Forge and Medium Forge, you're barely going to be behind in combat power. But if you need a bit of money to supplement yourself, you can definitely take these. So I recommend taking them if you want the money and you need to catch back up, or if your other options suck, then you can just take them because having an extra item is always going to be fine. Large Forge I don't love, I don't think it's great, it's definitely below average for Prismatic, but if your other options are unclickable, then feel free to take Large Forge because it's okay. Finally at 4-2, Jobs Done and Job Well Done are pretty solid augments. They're like about average, so if your other options suck, feel free to take these. At this point in the game, getting a couple extra components isn't the biggest deal, but they are nice and they'll always be a solid option. Masterful Job, same thing, is a solid option at 4-2. I think Masterful Job is a bit better than Large Forge, but it's still definitely below par for Prismatic, so if you can avoid it, definitely do so. In addition, if you want to know how to play each of the different Ornn items, I highly recommend checking out the video I made covering how to play every single Ornn item, and you'll get a bunch of good information there. The other legend I have in S tier is Poro. Poro is probably the hardest legend to play in the game, but is still very, very good. The best augments in the game are non-legend augments, so Poro gives you the highest odds of hitting them, and if you know how to play flexible and know how to play around every single augment in the game, Poro is a fantastic option and can definitely have a higher cap than Ornn with a bit less consistency. Moving on to the A tier, we first have Master Yi, which I think is the best legend in the game if you're looking for pure combat power, and that's due to the fact that Master Yi's augments are going to synergize really well with the current meta compositions. Starting off with 2-1, we have Pumping Up, which is going to synergize really well with Zeri and Aphelios. Zeri and Aphelios really like attack speed. Zeri wants to stack up those gunners as fast as possible, and Aphelios just really enjoys attack speed. So Pumping Up is going to be fantastic for them. A lot of time you want to have a Rage Blade on your Zeri or your Aphelios. If you have Pumping Up 3 or Pumping Up 2, you can usually forego that. It's still good on them, but you can just run pure damage instead of attack speed. You don't have to focus on the Rage Blade. If you have Pumping Up 1, I would still probably go Rage Blade because the attack speed probably isn't quite enough, but Pumping Up 1 is still going to be solid for them to buff them up. Moving on to 3-2, Battle Ready 1 is pretty It's an okay option if your other options suck, but I don't think it's great. Battle Ready 2 is actually quite good. It's definitely above average for gold, so feel free to take Battle Ready 2. And Battle Ready 3 is quite bad for Prismatic. I would definitely steer away from this as much as possible. Moving on to 4-2, we have the Gotta Go Fasts. All Gotta Go Fasts are pretty good, and they're going to be really good if you're playing Sorcerers or Invokers specifically, as both of those compositions really enjoy the extra mana generation it gives. So the idea with Master Yi is if you have AD items, you're going to take Pumping Up and play either Zeri or Aphelios. And if you have AP items, you're going to play either Sorcerers or Invokers and take Gotta Go Fast. You can take Pumping Up if you have AP items as well, because it's fine in Sorcerers, although Pumping Up is not great in Invokers. The next legend I have in my A tier is going to be Vladimir. Now Vladimir is pretty similar to Master Yi in the fact that they're all pure combat power, and then their 2-1 augment is going to be scaling throughout the game. That being said, they function well with other compositions. Transfusion is a bit more flexible than Pumping Up is. Transfusion works with pretty much any comp in the game because most comps like HP. That being said, there are some comps that it works really well with. For instance, if you're playing Rek'Sai, it's going to be really good in that comp. It's also quite good in Azir Lux variations where Pumping Up is not. And it's also quite good in Challenger variations where Pumping Up is not because the Challenger units already have enough attack speed. Transfusion is also really good if you're going to be playing Piltover because you're sacking a lot of your HP anyways whenever you're playing Piltover. So Transfusion, you cash out your Piltover at like 20-30 HP, you have a ton of Transfusion value and it's really powerful. So Vladimir is a great legend if you're looking to play a lot of Piltover as well. His 3-2, same with Master Yi, Battle Ready 1 is okay, Battle Ready 2 is great, and Battle Ready 3 sucks. And then at 4-2 we have Ascension. Ascension has pretty good synergy with Transfusion, so if you're taking Transfusion and you have a tanky composition, you can definitely consider taking Ascension. Ascension is also quite good if you're playing a really tanky frontline. It has been nerfed in the B patch, but Taric and Shen frontlines that are just super beefy is still quite good. So if you're playing a composition where you have a bunch of tank items and that super tanky frontline, all of the Ascensions are quite good, especially Final Ascension. Final Ascension is a fantastic augment. You can actually take it in a lot of different scenarios. That being said, the first 2 Ascensions you should only take if your team is really tanky. Next, we have Aurelion Sol. Now, Aurelion Sol is going to be the go-to legend if you're looking to fast 9 and play legendary units. A bunch of those legendary units did get buffed this patch, namely Aatrox and Ahri got buffed. However, Bel'Veth did get nerfed, which hurts Aurelion Sol a decent bit, but the buffs to Ahri and Aatrox pretty much compensate for that. We also do need to note that Level Up did get nerfed this patch. It has 2 less initial starting XP. Makes your early game a little more awkward because you don't auto level to 4 at 2-1, but outside of that, it's still basically just the same augment, still does the same things. Starting with Aurelion Sol's 2-1 augments, Cutting Corners, not a good augment, don't recommend taking it. Patient Study is an okay augment. The thing with Patient Study is it's going to be pretty hard to fast 9 consistently with Patient Study. I do think Patient Study is fine to take, but if you're taking Patient Study, you should essentially just opt to fast 8 and play around just a normal 4-cost board at level 8. If you do that, it's going to be fine. Level Up, though, is what you really want if you're playing Aurelion Sol, because this is going to allow you to fast 9 and play for those high cap legendary boards. You're pretty much always going to skip his 3-2 augment. I don't think Knowledge Download is very good. It doesn't synergize really well with his other augments. If you take Patient Study, you usually just want to take 2 other combat augments because it's going to be really hard to get to level 9 unless you end up getting like some Prismatic Econ augment. And then if you're taking Level Up, Knowledge Download just doesn't have good synergy with Level Up due to the fact that Level Up really wants gold. That way you can convert it into 7 XP per buy instead of 4. So Knowledge Download really just doesn't work that well with Level Up. It Pays to Learn is fantastic though if you have Level Up, due to the fact that it's going to give you some gold so you can essentially just fast 9 really quickly. So if you take Level Up, the game plan is typically Level Up, take it combat at 3-2, then take it Pays to Learn, go level 9, and cap around Bel'Veth, Ahri, Aatrox, Scion, all those legendary units, Senna and Heimerdinger as well. And if you're taking Patient Study, usually just go Patient Study plus 2 combats. You can occasionally take It Pays to Learn though if you need a little bit of extra eco to make sure you can stabilize at 8. Next we have Ezreal. Now personally I see Ezreal as a bit of a worse Ornn. That being said, he definitely is still a strong option. Buried Treasures 1 and 2 are great options. They're fantastic silver and gold augments. They just give you a lot of early power. You're going to want to slam items, just play for strong tempo, and play into whatever composition you want. I don't think Buried Treasures 3 is very good. I would definitely recommend taking a different Prismatic. Looking at 3-2, Tiny Grab Bag and Big Grab Bag are going to be very similar to the silver and gold Ornn augments at 3-2. They're great if you're a bit behind on econ, and they're also okay as a backup plan in case your other augments suck. That being said, these are just straight up worse versions of the Ornn augments if you read what they do. And then Giant Grab Bag is a solid option if you're playing into like a 3-cost reroll. I think being able to get full value of the Lesser Champion Duplicator is quite important. If you're just looking at 3 components and 10 gold, that's definitely below par for a Prismatic. But being able to get a Lesser Champion Duplicator if you're playing something like Vel'Koz's reroll is fantastic. So I highly recommend Giant Grab Bag if you're playing 3-cost reroll, otherwise I would steer away from it unless your other options just straight up suck. Well-Earned Comforts 1 and 2 are just not good augments, I would not take them. Well-Earned Comforts 3 is a very good augment though, especially if you were taking Ezreal's 2-1 and 3-2 augments. You're going to have a lot of items, so you're going to get a lot of value from Well-Earned Comforts, and highly recommend that. You can really play any composition from Ezreal. Every comp in the game wants items, so you can just be really flexible and just have a really strong early game with Ezreal. For the final legend in A tier, we have Earth. Now I do like Earth a bit less than last patch due to the fact that Ionia and Challenger got nerfed and they were 2 of my favorite emblems to take. That being said, Earth is still quite good. Noxus emblem is good. I think Sorcerer and Invoker emblem are good. And in addition, Freljord emblem's quite good, although it's pretty weak at 2-1, but it's going to be really strong if you can get 2-4 Freljord. Branching Out is a pretty solid augment. You do have to be really flexible if you're taking this because you pretty much have to play around whatever you're given. That being said, if you are able to play around whatever you're given, it's definitely above average for a silver augment. Ancient Archives 1 and Ancient Archives 2 are also fantastic. If you want to see how to tailor them to get the traits you want, I recommend checking out my Do Not Make These Augment Mistakes video. I talk about it in detail there. His 3-2 augments, same as Ezreal's, so just refer to what I talked about with Ezreal to see the same thing for Earth. For his 4-2 augments, I think Final Grab Bag 1 and Final Grab Bag 2 are definitely solid options. I wouldn't take them if you're ahead. You usually should be taking like a combat augment if you're going to be ahead, as it's going to have a lot more strength than 1 or 2 components. That being said, if you're behind, maybe you like rolled down at 4-1 missed and needed a little more gold to roll, do recommend Final Grab Bag 1 and 2, as it's going to give you that money to hopefully catch back up. In addition, if your other options suck, they're always a decent fallback option. Earth's Grab Bag is really good if you can fully utilize the spatula. If you're playing something like Sorcerers and want a Sorcerer spat, Highly recommend it. If you can't fully utilize the spatula though, you probably should not be taking it. Moving on to the B tier, we first have Veigar. Now Veigar is potentially just as good or better than some of the A tier legends, but he's a bit more awkward than them, which is why I have him in the B tier. Starting with his 2-1 augments, we have the Jeweled Lotuses, which are going to be fantastic for any AP composition, such as Sorcerers, Invokers, or Luxazir, and they're also going to be fantastic for Noxus, because Darius and Katarina really love ability crit. Jeweled Lotus 3 is also going to be fantastic for pretty much every composition in the game. It's one of the strongest combat power prismatics there is. Jeweled Lotus 1 did get changed this patch. It should be 40% instead of 50%, but I actually do think it is buffed because you can actually correctly choose who your strongest unit is. The way it's calculated now is your strongest unit is going to be whoever has the most items, and if there's a tie, it's going to be whoever was put in the most recently. So if you have 2 units and you want to make sure that one of them gets the Jeweled Lotus value and they have the same amount of items, just take out that unit, put them back in, and they'll have the Jeweled Lotus value for the rest of the game. The one awkward thing about the Jeweled Lotuses is they're actually not that strong at 2-1. These are great augments at 3-2 and 4-2, but pretty weak in the early game, which makes Veigar a little bit awkward because you're kind of down power during stage 2, but they do cap out really high. Looking at 3-2, we have the tiny powers, which are just fantastic, especially the silver and prismatic. The gold is pretty solid for gold, but the silver and prismatic are fantastic. They did get nerfed this patch, but they're still very good. Good in pretty much every composition that doesn't already have a lot of flat AP or AD, so probably not great in like sorcerers, but should be good in pretty much everything else. Finally, at 4-2, we have Ascension. Now, Ascension is the other reason that Veigar is going to be awkward, due to the fact that it doesn't really synergize that well with his 2-1 and 3-2 augments, right? His 2-1 and 3-2 augments give him a lot of power, but Ascension wants stall. Ascension's great with Vladimir because Vladimir gives you stall, not as great with Veigar, so you're generally not going to be taking partial and regular Ascension. Final Ascension is still definitely a good option if your other options aren't great, or if you do end up just having a lot of tank items. Being able to get that 15% damage amp at the start of the fight is always going to be solid. Next we have Caitlyn, who is one of the 2 legends that got serious buffs this patch, specifically with Stars Are Born and Starter Kit. Starting off with her 2-1 augments, we have 1-2-3, which is a decent silver augment. It's not amazing, but it's definitely takeable. It's just a good way to get maybe a little bit more early game power, as well as some extra money. Stars Are Born is going to be the main reason you're playing Caitlyn, and you're going to be using it to push tempo in the early game. You're typically just going to take the first tier 1 and tier 2 champion that go well together that you see, so maybe something like Set plus Jhin, or like Malzahar plus Swain, etc. And you can really use the extra gold from it to start pushing levels quickly. Maybe you go like level 5 on 2-3, something like that, try and win streak into Krugs, and you essentially can just start snowballing your economy because you have that win streak going and the additional money from Stars Are Born, and you can just kind of be really strong in the early game and just get a nice secure top 4. One other way to play Stars Are Born is like, let's say you're sitting here with like 5 Viegos at 2-1. What you can do is wait to hit Stars Are Born Viego, and then just click that Viego. Now you have 8 Viegos, and you can hit a Viego 3 really quickly. That being said, you usually just use it to tempo your early game and start pushing the lobby by leveling up quickly. Starter Kit also got buffed this patch. It's quite good now. You can essentially just get a guaranteed 2-star forecast at 4-1. It's generally not going to be able to get top 1, but it can be a really secure way to top 4. You'll know what you're playing around, so just play around whatever forecast you hit, and you should be in a good spot because you'll have strong direction and you're guaranteed to hit it. Her 3-2 augments aren't very good, knowledge download kind of just sucks, and her 4-2 augments are also not that great. Rolling for days, really not good after it got nerfed like 2 patches ago, so don't really recommend her 3-2 4-2s, but her 2-1s are all quite good right now. The next legend we have is going to be Bard, and Bard is the other of the 2 legends that got serious buffs this patch, specifically in regards to Caretaker's Ally and Caretaker's Chosen. Caretaker's Ally does say a random tier 3 champion here, however it did get B-patched to be a random tier 2 champion, making it a lot more balanced. If you take Caretaker's Ally, what you generally want to do is just play around the 2 costs you hit. You should be able to get 3 copies of it guaranteed by level 6, and then you're going to want to roll till you have 8 of those, then go level 7, and you should have your 3-star 2 cost. I don't think it's the greatest augment now, but it is definitely takeable. Caretaker's Favor is actually going to be quite good if you're on like an economy portal, so something like Ecliptic Vaults, or Yorda Portals, or Yuumi Zoom Zone, because you can get to level 8 consistently, and it's a bit higher power than an average gold augment if you can get to level 8. That being said, on a normal portal, I don't like it that much. Caretaker's Chosen is actually very good now. You are weaker at level 4, 5, and 6, but once you get to level 7, you should be quite strong. So typically, whenever you have Caretaker's Chosen, you're going to want to make sure that you get a decent amount of economy in the early game, and you can just all in at level 7 on either 3, 5, or 4, 1, and roll for your 4-cost board, and you should be the strongest person in the lobby if you have that additional Radiant item, because you're essentially just up 3 components over everyone else, because a Radiant item is the power of a Prismatic. His 3-2s are quite good. These are the same as the Ornn ones, so check out Ornn if you want to see me talking about those. And his 4-2s just suck. Don't take Seeing Double ever. There's no reason you should ever be taking them. Next, we have Pengu. Now, Pengu was actually quite good at the end of last patch because Metabolic Accelerator and Tiny Titans actually synergize quite nicely with compositions like Zed and Kale, but those comps are a lot worse right now, so Pengu is definitely a lot worse. That being said, Tiny Titans and Metabolic Accelerator are quite good if you have like a Piltover start. They allow you to just get more Piltover value, so definitely recommend those in a Piltover start, don't recommend them otherwise. That being said, if you're clicking Pengu, it's generally going to be for Tiniest Titan, which is a fantastic augment. Tiniest Titan is just a really secure way to top 4. You're just going to have a ton of extra HP, ton of extra gold, just really, really powerful. You can play anything from it, doesn't matter. Any composition in the game is going to be really good. Pengu's 3-2s suck, don't recommend taking them, and Pengu's 4-2s are quite good, they're the same as Urf's, so everything I said about Urf still applies here. For the final legend in B tier, we have Lee Sin. Now Lee Sin is a bit worse than he was last patch due to the fact that reroll is a bit less powerful right now, making Lee Sin's value a bit weaker. That being said, he is still viable. Honor Roll is going to be what you're going to take if you're looking to play 1-cost rerolls, something like Tristana or Kayle. That being said, those compositions aren't amazing right now, so I don't love it, but it's definitely viable to take Honor Roll into them. Trade Sector is really good specifically into 3-cost rerolls in my opinion. If you want to play something like a Vel'Koz or Karma reroll, highly recommend taking Trade Sector at 2-1. Shopping Spree is really good for 3-cost and 4-cost compositions. You're going to want to push to level 7 and then spend your rolls there. If you're playing a 3-cost comp, what I like to do is just go level 6, spend my rolls to stabilize my board at level 6, then go level 7 and roll there to try and like start hitting my 3-stars. If you're playing a 4-cost composition though, what I'd recommend doing is just saving your gold for level 7, spending it all with all your free rolls at level 7, stabilizing your board, going 8 and getting those extra free rolls there as well. 3-2 is quite good if you're playing a reroll composition, being able to just get a lesser champion duplicator, really good to just secure your unit. So highly recommend the 3-2 if you're playing a reroll comp and you want to make sure you hit it. That being said, if you think you can hit your units anyways, don't recommend taking it. 4-2, money, and money, just not good augments, don't recommend taking them. Finally, we have the C tier legends. I wouldn't recommend clicking the C tier legends if you're trying to climb, but I will go over them anyways. Twisted Fate isn't great right now because none of the carries in the current meta care that much about having perfect items, which is Twisted Fate's niche. If you're looking to have more items, I would recommend just going Ornn or Ezreal instead. If you're clicking Twisted Fate, you're probably clicking Pandora's items. I think the silver's the best and the gold is the worst, but you're probably just clicking these if you end up clicking Twisted Fate and going for perfect items on your carry. I think his 3-2 options all suck, and I think his 4-2 options all suck as well. So if you're clicking Twisted Fate, it's literally just for his 2-1. Next, we have Tahm Kench. Now, I do think if you're looking for an Econ legend, I would recommend just going Lee Sin or Aurelion Sol. If you're aiming towards, fast 8, fast 9 compositions, Aurelion Sol is going to be a better version of Kench. And if you're looking for reroll compositions, Lee Sin is going to be a better version of Kench. I do think AFK is quite a good augment, so feel free to take AFK. It's definitely solid. I don't think Rich Get Richer and Hedge Fund are very good. I don't think the balanced budgets are very good, and I don't think the money augments are very good as well. If you're taking one of these augments, typically what you want to do is like fast 8, fast 9, play towards 4-cost and 5-cost, but Aurelion Sol will generally just do that better. And finally, we have Draven. Draven's silver augment is actually pretty solid. It's pretty easy to win streak in a silver lobby because you're down a combat augment with Draven is the problem. Like, he wants to win streak without a combat augment, but it's a lot easier to win streak with a silver one because being down a silver combat's not that big of a deal. Win streaking with a gold or prismatic is going to be a lot harder, so I really don't like the gold or prismatic spoils of war very much. And then balanced budget, not very good right now. Rolling for days, not very good right now. If you made it to the end, I want to thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this content, make sure to subscribe. I will be releasing a video within a day covering the best comps for patch 13.14b, so make sure to watch out for that.